The night shift at NASA's Deep Space Monitoring Station was usually quiet. Most operators spent their time checking routine signals from Mars colonies and asteroid mining operations. But tonight was different. Jack Wilson sat up straight in his chair, adjusting his headphones. The strange signal had appeared again, stronger this time. For 3 days, he had been tracking an unusual pattern coming from the edge of the Kuiper Belt, far beyond Neptune's orbit. At first, he thought it was just space noise, but the pattern was too regular, too precise. "Dr. Roberts, you need to see this," Jack called out to his supervisor, who was reviewing data in the next room. The aging scientist walked over, coffee cup in hand, his gray hair messy from a long night of work. The signal pulsed on Jack's screen, its pattern unlike anything they had seen before. Dr. Roberts placed his coffee down and leaned closer to the monitor, his eyes widening behind his thick glasses. "Run it through the new decoder," he ordered, his voice barely hiding his excitement. "This isn't random noise." The computer worked for several minutes, processing the complex signal. Suddenly, the screen filled with data, numbers, coordinates, and finally, words. Clear, unmistakable words in multiple Earth languages. Emergency. Stranded fleet. Life support CRITCL. Requesting immediate assistance. The coffee cup slipped from Dr. Roberts' hand, shattering on the floor. Nobody moved to clean it up. Within minutes, the quiet monitoring station transformed into a hub of frantic activity. Phones rang, computers beeped, and emergency protocols activated across all space agencies worldwide. The message continued to stream in, revealing more details. A fleet of ships carrying 50,000 refugees had encountered something they called a void anomaly. Their advanced engines had failed, leaving them stranded in the cold darkness of the outer solar system. Their life support systems were failing, and they had enough resources for only 30 more Earth days. The United Nations Space Council called an emergency meeting. Representatives from every space-capable nation gathered in New York, facing the most important decision in human history. The aliens had provided coordinates. They were real, they were close, and they needed help. "We can't ignore this," said the NASA director during the meeting. "They're less than 2 light days away. We can reach them with our fastest ships in under a week." Some council members argued for caution. What if it was a trap? What if helping them put Earth at risk? But as more data came in, including detailed engineering reports and life sign readings from the fleet, the truth became clear. This was real, and it was a test of humanity's character. Dr. Roberts, who had been called to present his findings, stood before the council. His voice shook slightly as he spoke, but his words were clear and determined. "For centuries, we've looked to the stars and asked if we're alone. We've wondered if humanity would ever join a larger galactic community. Now we have our answer, but it comes with a responsibility. There are 50,000 souls out there, counting on us. Their technology may be more advanced than ours, but right now, that doesn't matter. They need help, and we can provide it." The council chamber fell silent. The decision was unanimous. Earth would help. Within hours, space agencies worldwide began organizing the biggest rescue mission in human history. Ships were prepared, crews were selected, and resources were gathered. The best engineers and scientists were called in, ready to face a challenge unlike anything they had trained for. As the rescue ships prepared for launch, a second message arrived from the alien fleet. This one was simpler, but it made everyone working on the mission pause and smile. "Thank you. We didn't know if anyone would answer." Humanity had taken its first step into a larger universe, not through war or trade or exploration, but through an act of compassion. The real challenge, however, was just beginning. No one knew if Earth's primitive technology could help such an advanced civilization, but they were determined to try. As Dr. Roberts watched the rescue ships prepare for launch from his station window, he thought about how history would remember this moment. The day humanity proved it was ready for the stars wasn't marked by some great technological achievement, but by a simple answer to a call for help. The rescue ship Hope dropped out of its high-speed trajectory near the edge of the solar system. Through the main viewport, Tom Miller and his team got their first look at the alien fleet. 12 massive ships hung against the darkness of space, their silver hulls reflecting the distant sunlight. Even dead in space, they were beautiful. "Control, we have visual contact," Tom reported back to Earth. As the chief engineer selected for this mission, he felt the weight of humanity's first major contact with alien life on his shoulders. His team of 5 engineers had been chosen for their practical skills rather than their diplomatic abilities. The Hope carefully approached the largest ship in the fleet. Up close, the alien vessel was enormous, nearly 2 miles long, with strange patterns etched into its hull that seemed to shift color as they watched. "Their airlock systems are compatible with ours," said Bill, the team's technical specialist, looking surprised. "It's almost like they planned for this." A green light flashed above their docking port. The aliens were ready to receive them. Tom led his team through the airlock, their tools floating beside them in zero gravity. The inner door opened with a soft hiss, and they found themselves face to face with the alien crew. The beings before them stood nearly 7 feet tall, their bodies covered in something that looked like flowing liquid metal. Where faces should be, they had smooth, curved surfaces that rippled with patterns of light. Tom had been prepared for anything, but the sight still took his breath away. One of the aliens stepped forward. The universal translator they carried crackled to life. "I am High Engineer Brightwave." The alien's patterns shifted as it spoke. "We did not expect such a quick response from your world." Tom straightened up. "I'm Tom Miller, Chief Engineer from Earth. We came as soon as we got your message. Can you show us what happened to your engines?" Brightwave's surface rippled with what might have been surprise. "You wish to begin work immediately, but surely you will need time to study our technology. Our quantum fold drives are far beyond your current scientific understanding." Tom smiled behind his helmet. "Maybe so, but an engine is still an engine. Let's at least take a look." The alien engineer led them through corridors that seemed to bend in impossible ways. Other aliens watched them pass, their surfaces flickering with patterns that the translator couldn't decode. Finally, they reached the main engine room. The sight made Tom whistle. The chamber was huge, filled with crystalline structures and pulsing energy fields. At the center, a massive cylinder that must have been the main drive sat dark and lifeless. "The void anomaly corrupted the quantum matrix," Brightwave explained. "Without it, we cannot restart the drives. Our backup systems were not designed for a journey of this length." Tom walked around the engine, his experienced eyes taking in every detail. He noticed something familiar about the power distribution system. It reminded him of the nuclear submarines he'd worked on years ago. "Your quantum drives are beyond us," Tom admitted, "but these power systems, they're not so different from what we use. Different scale, different materials, but similar principles." Brightwave's surface flickered with what the translator identified as dismissal. "Our power systems are based on advanced quantum principles that still follow the basic laws of physics," Tom interrupted. He pointed to a series of conduits. Energy in, energy out. Distribution, regulation, consumption. The principles don't change just because the technology gets more advanced. The aliens' patterns shifted rapidly. "You cannot possibly suggest that your primitive technology—" "Right now, your advanced technology isn't working," Tom said firmly. "We might not be able to fix your quantum drives, but I think we can get you moving again. Sometimes the simple solutions are the best ones." Brightwave was silent for a moment, its surface swirling with complex patterns. Finally, it spoke. "You have 28 days before our life support systems fail. What do you propose?" Tom pulled out his tablet and began sketching. "We'll need materials from Earth, and we'll have to work fast, but I have an idea. It won't be pretty, and it won't be as fast as your quantum drives, but it will work. As he explained his plan, even the dismissive alien engineer began to show signs of interest. Sometimes, Tom thought, you needed to take a step backward to move forward. 27 days remained on the life support clock when Tom called his team together in the Hope's main conference room. Floating diagrams of the alien engine systems filled the air around them, alongside sketches of their proposed solution. "All right, here's what we know," Tom said, pointing to the main display. "Their quantum fold drives are dead. We can't fix them because we don't understand the technology. But we don't need to understand them to help these people." Bill raised his hand. "I've been studying their power systems. They use some kind of crystal matrix to generate energy, but the distribution network is similar to our nuclear power plants." "Exactly," Tom smiled. "And that's our way in. We can't fix their fancy drives, but we can build them new ones. Something simple, something we know works." He pulled up a new image, a design that made the other engineers lean forward with interest. It showed a massive ion engine combined with an enormous solar sail. "Are you serious?" asked Mike, the propulsion specialist. "Ion engines and solar sails. That's centuries-old technology." "Sometimes old is good," Tom replied. "The aliens have amazing power generation systems. We can use those to power modified ion engines, bigger than anything we've ever built. The solar sails will help with acceleration and provide backup propulsion." Brightwave, who had been quietly observing, finally spoke up. Its surface rippled with what they had learned to recognize as concern. "Your proposal is primitive. These technologies were abandoned by our civilization thousands of years ago." Tom turned to the alien engineer. "Yes, but they work. They're reliable, we understand them completely, and most importantly, we can build them with the materials we have. Your people might have abandoned these technologies, but we've been perfecting them." He brought up another diagram. "We'll build the engines in sections. Each ship will need 4 of them. The solar sails will be made from a combination of your hull repair materials and our carbon fiber sheets. It's not elegant, but it will get your people to Earth safely." "The power requirements would be enormous," Brightwave noted, its patterns shifting thoughtfully. "That's where your systems come in," Tom explained. "Your power generation technology is incredible. We just need to modify the distribution network to handle our engines. It's like adapting a super advanced battery to power an old but reliable motor." The team spent hours going over the details. They would need materials from Earth, tons of them. The construction would have to be done in space, with teams working around the clock. Success wasn't guaranteed, but they had no choice but to try. "There's one more thing," Tom said, pointing to a particular part of the design. "We'll need to integrate some of your damaged quantum drive components into our system." Brightwave's surface flashed with surprise. "The damaged components are useless." "Not entirely," Tom explained. "We can use them as power regulators. Your technology naturally handles quantum fluctuations, something our systems struggle with. By combining them, we get the best of both worlds." The alien engineer was silent for a long moment, its surface swirling with complex patterns. Finally, it spoke. "In all our history of space travel, we have never considered such a hybrid approach. It goes against all our engineering principles." "Sometimes the best solutions do," Tom replied. "Your principles are based on having superior technology. Ours are based on making do with what we have. Right now, we need both." The next few hours were spent sending the designs back to Earth for review. More supply ships were already on their way, carrying the materials they would need. Time was their enemy now. Every hour counted. As the team broke up to begin preparations, Brightwave approached Tom privately. "There is something I must understand," it said. "Why do you believe this will work when our own engineers said nothing could be done?" Tom thought for a moment before answering. "Because we're not trying to fix what's broken. We're building something new, something that takes the best from both our worlds. Sometimes you need to look at a problem with fresh eyes to see the solution that's been there all along." The alien surface rippled with what might have been hope. Outside the viewport, Earth's supply ships were already appearing, bringing with them the materials that would either save or doom 50,000 lives. 25 days remained when the real work began. The space around the alien fleet had transformed into a busy construction site. Supply ships from Earth arrived constantly, bringing materials, equipment, and more workers. The sight would have been impressive even without the towering alien ships in the background. Tom watched from a work platform as teams of humans in spacesuits moved across the hull of the largest ship. They were installing the framework for the first ion engine, their welding tools creating bright flashes against the dark of space. "Your people work surprisingly fast," Brightwave said, floating beside him. The alien's metallic surface reflected the welding sparks like a mirror. "We have to," Tom replied. "Time isn't on our side." He checked his tablet, reviewing the progress reports. The first engine assembly was taking shape, a massive structure that looked out of place against the sleek alien hull. Inside the ship, more teams were working to connect their new systems to the alien power grid. It wasn't easy. Human tools weren't designed to work with the alien technology, so the engineers had to get creative. Bill had figured out how to use modified copper wire to bridge the gap between their systems. "It's not pretty," he had said, "but it works." That phrase had become their unofficial motto. The biggest challenge came when they tried to install the power regulators. The damaged pieces of the quantum drive were difficult to work with, and nobody fully understood how they functioned. But they knew they needed them. Without proper regulation, the massive power flow would melt their engines instantly. "This is impossible," Mike said after another failed attempt to integrate the systems. "These components weren't designed to work together. It's like trying to connect a garden hose to a laser beam." Tom thought for a moment, then smiled. "So let's stop trying to connect them directly. We'll build something in between, a bridge between our technology and theirs." The solution, when they figured it out, was surprisingly simple. They created a cooling system filled with liquid metal similar to what covered the aliens' bodies. This material could handle both the quantum fluctuations from the alien tech and the electrical current needed for the human engines. "It's like a translator," Tom explained to Brightwave. "But instead of converting words, it converts energy." The alien engineer's surface rippled with what they now recognized as amazement. "In all our technical history, we never considered such adaptations. Our focus was always on advancing to more sophisticated solutions." Workers from Earth's different space agencies worked in shifts around the clock. The Russians brought their expertise in heavy space construction. The Chinese contributed their advanced welding techniques. The Americans and Europeans provided the ion engine designs and solar sail materials. It was truly a global effort. The solar sails proved to be another challenge. They needed to be enormous to have any effect on ships this size. The solution came from an unexpected source: the alien's own hull repair system. "Your repair nanites can weave materials together at the atomic level," Tom said excitedly after discovering this. "We can use them to create solar sails far stronger and thinner than anything we've made before." As the work continued, something unexpected happened. The aliens began to learn from the humans. They watched in fascination as simple tools solved complex problems. They saw how human engineers used basic physics principles to accomplish what their advanced technology couldn't. "Watch this," Tom heard one of his workers explaining to a group of aliens. He was demonstrating how to use a simple lever to move a heavy component. The aliens' surfaces flickered with interest as they observed the basic but effective tool. By the end of the 5th day of construction, the first engine was nearly complete. It wasn't beautiful. Pipes and wires stuck out at odd angles, and patches of different metals created a patchwork appearance. But when they ran the first power test, everything worked perfectly. "It's alive," Bill shouted over the radio, making everyone laugh. Even some of the alien surfaces rippled in what might have been their version of amusement. Tom looked at their creation with pride. It was ugly, it was strange, and it was exactly what they needed. 20 days remained to install the rest of the engines. They were behind schedule, but now they knew it could be done. Sometimes, he said to Brightwave, beauty isn't in how something looks, but in how well it works. The alien surface rippled in agreement as they watched another supply ship arrive from Earth, carrying more materials for their impossible project. 18 days remained on the life support clock. The first complete engine system was ready for testing on one of the smaller alien scout ships. Tom stood at the control station they had set up, surrounded by both human and alien engineers. Everyone was quiet, knowing how much depended on this moment. Power systems ready, Bill reported from his station. The screen showed the alien power core glowing with energy, connected to their hybrid control system. Hull integrity stable, added Mike, watching his own displays. Solar sails deployed and responding. Tom looked at Brightwave, who floated nearby. The alien surface was almost still, showing how tense it was. Your ship, your call, Tom said. Should we start the test? The alien surface rippled once, decisively. Proceed. Tom took a deep breath and began the startup sequence. The hybrid engine system hummed to life. Energy from the alien power core flowed through their makeshift regulators into the ion engines. The solar sails, shimmering with an almost impossible thinness, adjusted their position automatically. At first, everything seemed perfect. The scout ship's new engines glowed with a soft blue light. Power readings were stable. The ship began to move forward slowly, exactly as planned. Then everything went wrong. Warning alarms blared. The power readings jumped wildly. Power surge, Bill shouted. The quantum regulators can't handle the flow. The engine's glow turned from blue to dangerous purple. Metal groaned as energy overloaded the systems. They had seconds before everything would fail. Shut it down, someone yelled. No. Tom moved quickly to the control panel. The regulators are working. They're just working too well. They're trying to perfect the energy flow instead of just managing it. His fingers flew over the controls. The alien's technology always tries to achieve perfection, but we don't need perfect. We just need good enough. He adjusted the settings, deliberately introducing small imperfections into the power flow. The warnings began to quiet. The engine's glow returned to blue. The power readings stabilized at a level that was far from perfect, but completely functional. What did you do? Brightwave asked, its surface showing complex patterns of confusion and interest. Tom smiled. Your systems were trying to create a perfect energy flow. But our engines don't need perfect energy. They just need steady energy. Sometimes imperfection is better than perfection. The scout ship was moving steadily now, its hybrid engines pushing it smoothly through space. The solar sails gleamed in the distant sunlight, adding their small but important contribution to the ship's acceleration. They ran the test for 6 hours, putting the engines through every possible situation. The ship turned, accelerated, and slowed exactly as they had hoped. It wasn't as fast as the quantum drives had been, but it was more than enough to get the fleet to Earth safely. When the test ended, the control room erupted in cheers. Humans hugged each other, while alien surfaces rippled with patterns of joy and relief. They had done it. The impossible hybrid of human and alien technology actually worked. We'll need to modify the design for the larger ships, Tom said, already thinking ahead. The power requirements will be different, but now we know it's possible. Brightwave approached him, its surface showing a pattern they had never seen before. We had forgotten something important, the alien said. In our drive for advancement, we forgot that simpler solutions can be just as valuable as complex ones. Your people have reminded us of this. Tom nodded. And you've shown us what's possible when we push beyond our current technology. We both had something to teach each other. Looking at the successful test data, Tom felt hopeful for the first time since the mission began. They had 15 days left to outfit the rest of the fleet. It would be tight, but they could do it. The bigger ships would be more challenging, but the principles were proven. "Let's get to work on the next ship," he said. "We've got a lot to do and not much time to do it." As teams began preparing for the next installation, Tom watched the scout ship making another test run. Its glowing engines and shimmering solar sails represented more than just a solution to their current problem. They represented what was possible when two civilizations worked together, combining the best of both worlds. 10 days remained, and half the fleet still needed their new engines. The space around the alien ships buzzed with activity like a giant beehive. Construction crews worked in continuous shifts, their welding tools creating constant flashes of light against the darkness of space. "Status report," Tom called out during the morning briefing. His voice was tired. He hadn't slept properly in days. None of them had. "5 ships are complete and running," Bill answered, checking his tablet. 3 more are in final assembly. But the 4 largest ships, he shook his head. "We're behind schedule." The largest ships were proving to be the biggest challenge. Each one needed 6 massive engine units instead of 4, and their power systems were more complex. The work teams were exhausted, but nobody complained. They all knew what was at stake. "We need more help," Tom decided. He turned to Brightwave, who had become a constant presence at their meetings. "Is there any way your people could assist with the construction?" The alien surface rippled thoughtfully. "Our people are not trained in physical engineering work. We have relied on automated systems for generations." "Then it's time to learn," Tom said firmly. "We'll teach them." What followed was something unprecedented. Human workers began training aliens in basic construction tasks. The sight was strange. Tall, metallic beings learning to use welding tools and handle mechanical components alongside human teachers. At first, it was awkward. The aliens' liquid metal bodies weren't designed for this kind of work. But they learned quickly, and soon dozens of them were helping with the construction. Their natural ability to flow through small spaces and handle multiple tools at once actually proved incredibly useful. "Look at that," Mike said, pointing through a viewport. An alien was effortlessly moving through a tight space between engine components, its fluid body carrying tools and materials that would have taken 3 human workers to handle. "They're actually better at some of this than we are." The work continued around the clock. Earth kept sending supplies and fresh workers. The completed ships helped by using their working engines to position themselves to aid in the construction of others. It was like a giant space ballet, with ships, workers, and supply vessels all moving in careful coordination. But time was running out. With 7 days left, they still had 2 of the largest ships to complete. The life support systems were starting to show serious strain. Some areas of the ships had already lost power, forcing the alien refugees to crowd into the remaining functional sections. "We need to work faster," Tom announced during an emergency meeting. "We're going to try something new." His plan was risky. Instead of building 1 ship at a time, they would work on both remaining ships simultaneously. It would stretch their resources thin, but they had no choice. The next few days were intense. Workers floated between the ships, installing components and running power lines. The aliens had fully embraced their new role, their liquid metal bodies shimmering as they helped wherever they could. There were problems, of course. A power surge damaged one of the partially completed engines. A solar sail tore during deployment. But for every problem, the combined human and alien teams found solutions. With just 2 days of life support remaining, they completed the final engine installation. Every ship in the fleet now had working hybrid engines and solar sails. They looked strange, elegant alien ships with bulky human technology attached to them, but they worked. The final test came when they tried to move the fleet in formation. One by one, the ships activated their new engines. Blue light glowed from multiple ion drives, while massive solar sails caught the distant sunlight. Slowly but surely, the entire fleet began to move. "All ships reporting stable power and thrust," Bill announced, his voice breaking with emotion. "We did it. We actually did it." Tom looked at Brightwave. The alien surface was showing patterns they now recognized as joy and gratitude. "Your people have done the impossible," it said. "You took two completely different technologies and made them work together. More than that, you taught us to work together." Tom smiled, watching the fleet begin its slow but steady journey toward Earth. "That's what humans do best," he said. "We adapt, we improvise, and we never give up." The rescue mission had succeeded, but it had become something more. It had become proof that different civilizations, no matter how far apart in technology or culture, could work together to overcome any challenge. Earth's orbit had never seen anything like it. 12 massive alien ships, their hybrid engines glowing soft blue, moved slowly into position above the planet. Their giant solar sails caught the sunlight, creating a spectacular light show visible from the ground. People worldwide stopped to watch the historic moment, their eyes turned to the sky in wonder. The journey had taken 3 weeks, much slower than the aliens' original quantum drives would have managed, but they had made it. All 50,000 refugees were safe, their life support systems still functioning thanks to the reduced power consumption of the hybrid engines. Tom stood at the main viewport of the lead ship, watching Earth grow larger. Bright Wave floated beside him, its surface reflecting the blue and green colors of the planet below. "Your world is beautiful," the alien said, "but more importantly, your people are remarkable. We will never forget what humanity has done for us." The next few days were filled with activity as Earth prepared to welcome its first alien refugees. Space stations were modified to accommodate the visitors, and temporary habitats were constructed in orbit. Scientists and engineers from around the world gathered to study the amazing combination of technologies that had saved the fleet. During a ceremony held at the United Nations, Brightwave addressed the world's leaders. Its words were broadcast globally. "We came to your solar system as refugees, expecting to die in the cold of space. Instead, we found something extraordinary. Your people took our advanced technology, combined it with what we considered primitive solutions, and created something new. But more than that, you taught us an important lesson about innovation and adaptability." The alien surface rippled with complex patterns as it continued. "We offer you a trade. We will share our quantum technology with humanity. In return, we ask that you teach us your way of thinking, your ability to find simple solutions to complex problems." The agreement that followed changed both civilizations. Earth gained access to advanced alien science, but the aliens gained something equally valuable: a new way of approaching problems. Human engineers began working with alien scientists, combining their different approaches to create new technologies. The hybrid engines that had saved the fleet became the foundation for a new type of spacecraft. They weren't as fast as pure quantum drives, but they were more reliable and easier to maintain. Within a year, ships using the new technology were exploring the outer solar system. Tom found himself leading a new international organization dedicated to combining human and alien technologies. His team, now including both humans and aliens, worked on everything from space travel to solving Earth's energy problems. "It's funny," he said to Brightwave one day, as they watched a new ship under construction. "When we first met, you thought our technology was primitive." The alien surface showed amusement. "And you proved that primitive does not mean ineffective. Sometimes the oldest solutions are the best ones." The refugee fleet remained in Earth orbit, eventually becoming the core of a new space station where both species could live and work together. The ship's distinctive profile, with their mixture of sleek alien design and bulky human engineering, became a symbol of cooperation and innovation. Years later, when other alien civilizations made contact with Earth, they found something unexpected. Instead of a primitive world struggling to reach the stars, they found a unique civilization that had learned to combine simple ingenuity with advanced technology in ways nobody had seen before. During the 10th anniversary celebration of the rescue, a monument was unveiled at the United Nations. It showed a human hand and an alien surface working together to build something new. The plaque beneath it read, "In memory of the day humanity proved that the greatest technology is the ability to work together." Tom stood with Brightwave, looking at the monument. Did you ever imagine, when you sent that distress signal, that it would lead to all this? The alien surface rippled with what had become recognizable as laughter. We were hoping for rescue. Instead, we found partners, and that has made all the difference. Above them, in the night sky, new ships with hybrid engines glowed blue as they headed out to explore the stars, carrying crews of both humans and aliens. They were living proof that sometimes the best solutions come not from advancing forward, but from bringing different approaches together.